CNN 10 is returning to its daily events coverage after the Martin Luther King holiday. We'll have a little more on that later on today, and we're happy you're watching. I'm Carl Azus. North Korea is planning to send an orchestra to South Korea for the Winter Olympic Games that start next month. The 140-member group will be part of a North Korean delegation that also includes athletes, artists, cheerleaders, and news reporters. There's been a breakthrough between the two rival countries since they started holding talks earlier this month. But it was just last year that North Korea was threatening to strike South Korea, as well as the U.S., an ally of South Korea. And America was threatening North Korea as well. So the U.S. territory of Guam, the state of Hawaii, and other parts of the U.S., which could be possible targets of the communist country, have been making preparations to defend themselves. One of them, an emergency missile alert system in Hawaii, mistakenly sent out a warning on Saturday to everyone in the state. To be clear, no missile was actually launched. There was no threat. But the false alarm terrified many residents of the 50th U.S. state because of heightened tensions between the U.S. and North Korea, and because Hawaii is located between the two mainland countries.
The U.S. Pacific Command has detected a missile threat to Hawaii.
At 8:07, the warning message went out on television, on radio, and via text message saying, ballistic missile threat inbound to Hawaii. Seek shelter. This is not a drill. State Representative Matt Lopresti's family was enjoying a relaxed Saturday morning. Suddenly, they were worrying about nuclear annihilation. The family gathered in the bathroom and began praying.
We all just got down, got in the tub. We were waiting for a flash, and I was going to cover the kids with my body.
What are your children saying to you?
While my 8-year-old's praying, she stopped and she looked at me and said, "Daddy, are we at war?" And I had to say yes. And she just looked at me and said, "Why?" And all I could do was hug her.
Panic ensued. Students ran for cover on campus. For 38 minutes, citizens had no idea the message was sent by mistake. Inside Diamond Head Crater in this bunker is where the state warning point is. This is where the mistake originated. An officer brought the wrong template up on the computer, and then the computer asked whether or not you want to send out the message. And someone clicked yes. It all happened during what was supposed to be a routine drill. The officer who sent the erroneous message to the public has been reassigned during an investigation. Retired Army Major General Vern Miyagi is the head of the team. What would you like to say to those who are angry, who were terrified, whose children were afraid?
From my side, I just want to say I apologize for this. It should not have happened. We're taking steps to fix it so it never happens again.
So why did it take so long to send the false alarm message? Well, that message hadn't been created.
One thing that we've done is that there's a cancellation button right now. That if we trigger this again, a false alarm, there's a button right there that will cancel it immediately.
In the months leading up to the mistake, Hawaii had become the first state in the nation to test its attack alert sirens. It hadn't done so since the end of the Cold War. The red-hot rhetoric between America and North Korea certainly played a role in the renewed effort to prepare the public. The false alarm, though, officials say, was never part of that plan.
The biggest problem now, Sarah, is that are people going to believe the system next time?
People in the Middle Eastern country of Syria have been suffering the horrors of war for years. Since Syria's civil war started in 2011, the United Nations estimates that 400,000 Syrians have been killed, more than 6 million have lost their homes, and more than 5 million have left the country. The war involves government forces fighting to stay in power, rebel groups that want that government overthrown, terrorist organizations, and other countries like the U.S. and Russia, whose militaries have also been involved. Idlib is a province in northwestern Syria, near the country's border with Turkey. It's the largest area that's still controlled by rebels, and in recent days, fighting between them and Syrian government forces has gotten worse. The consequences are borne by civilians.
It feels like one is peering into a macabre dollhouse of broken lives. Bits of concrete tumble down as people try to clean up or salvage what they can, amid the horrors that they can't escape.
5 of his relatives were killed in that building. There were 3 children among them.
Images like this are familiar a year ago from the siege of Aleppo. But this is Idlib city. This is where families were supposed to be safe. This was meant to be a refuge, one of the last remaining ones, part of a so-called de-escalation zone that lately has become anything but. The 4 strikes that hit here happened 5 days before we arrived. And many of those we met had actually fled from Aleppo.
So lucky they were in that back room.
Muhammad Qadha Qabji is haunted by all he has lost. His wife was killed in Aleppo 6 years ago. He's raising his 2 sons on his own. We head south, where some towns already feel deserted. In Ma'arat and Nu'man, closer to the front lines of the fighting, children rummage through the aftermath of bombs to look for plastic to sell. We do get scared. We hide from the bombs, they say. The Syrian regime and its foreign backers' latest push seems aimed at eliminating, or at the very least suffocating, the last major rebel stronghold. Hundreds of thousands of people have been on the move the last few weeks, many fleeing ahead of what they know is coming, or as soon as the first strikes hit. Some live in makeshift camps along the road to Turkey, bringing everything they can, including their livestock.
10-second trivia. When he was born, Martin Luther King Jr. was named what? Martin King, Michael King, Luther King, or Michael Williams? On January 15th, 1929, Michael King Jr. was born to Michael King Sr. and Alberta Williams King. Michael King Sr. later changed his name to Martin Luther King after the German religious leader Martin Luther. And Michael King Jr., who became the renowned U.S. civil rights leader whose holiday is celebrated every January, eventually changed his name as well. Yesterday, on what would have been the 89th birthday of the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., hundreds of thousands marched in his honor in San Antonio, Texas. Parades were held across the country, speeches paid tribute to Dr. King's legacy, and volunteer events offered Americans the chance to answer the call for a day of service. The Martin Luther King holiday is the only federal holiday described as a day on, not a day off. It's in the spirit of a famous quote by Dr. King, in which he said life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? Tennis is believed to have its roots in a medieval European sport dating back to the 1200s. Table tennis, on the other hand, is a little younger. It first appeared in England in the late 1800s. Also known as ping pong, whiff waff, and flim flam, the sport hasn't known many robotic champions, but one could be on the way.
Oh, tripping up I see. This is Forpheus, the world's first robotic ping pong tutor. It's made by a company named Omron that specializes in artificial intelligence and robotics. I think I'm pretty good at ping pong, but let's see if Forpheus thinks I need some help. All right. So it's using a combination of AI, a 3D camera system, and robotics to follow the ball, return the shot, and improve my game, all in a fraction of a second. But don't expect to be playing against Forpheus in your basement anytime soon. This is really just a proof of concept to show off Omron's technologies. The same technology that makes Forpheus good at ping pong has other applications, like in factory automation, hospitality, and driver safety. Forpheus isn't perfect. I managed to get a couple shots across. But Omron says it's learning from its mistakes, using AI to get better. The student has become the teacher.
Could take that as a backhand compliment. Would it be a smash hit or cause an open racket to spin the loaded suggestion that robots could one day rate or receive a long shot at a whiff-waff championship? Guess the ball's in their court, y'all. I'm Carl Azus for CNN.